Hey, yo, what a div, y'all. Let's get right into it. I'm not really here to waste no time because it is 5 in the morning when I'm recording this. I'm still up from the start of the season, but I had to record this now before I go to bed so I don't make sure I can't like get put out in the morning because Traveler 7 is down. Number one Thea trade in NA, and I believe I was like roughly number 20 overall for NA trade. Definitely much further back if you include Asia and Europe. But let me have this for a second. Should have been faster, but I kind of sold actually on my first attempt at Traveler 7 because I did not realize how much tankier they made him. And so to prevent you from being surprised by how tanky these are, I would say like listen to the tips I'm providing in this video as far as ways to actually like juice up your character to make sure you're meeting the new damage check that Traveler 7 provides as opposed to the old damage check. With that said, let's get into it. First off, because I know I'm going to get this question a lot, why Thea 1 instead of say Thea 3, for example, or even Thea 2? And the short answer is one, I just really like Ring of Ice. It's just a really consistent skill that I love the visuals of, love the sound of, I love the playstyle of. But more importantly, Theo 1 is my favorite hero in the game. I was actually like, so I did Gemma 1 Ring of Ice last season, Theo 1 Ring of Ice this season because Gemma 1 and Theo 1 are the two classes that I played when I first got into Torchlight. I played a Gemma 1 Thundercloud that I then rolled into a Theo 1 Ring of Ice character in season 5. And so it's been really nice to be able to return glory to my favorite heroes, especially this patch. Thea 1 got some insane buffs. Like, look, I know that Thea 3 looks hot, and Thea 2 also got some pretty big buffs, but Thea 1, don't sleep on your girl here now. One, her base trait no longer just nerfs your damage for existing, and this is so important to me. This was like one of the dumbest problems that she had as a character, was just that you would press the button, eat all of your charges, and then be doing less damage than if you had kept your charges for the next couple of seconds until you could actually quickly rebuild them. It was a bit of a painful design. Glad they fixed that by just making it consume focus, not focus charge, what, uh, focus blessings. Yeah, I'm thinking power charges and focus blessings. Someone say, look, they're basically the same thing in my mind, but focus blessings. Also, level 75 traits are actually useful now for Thea as opposed to just like the wait until you grow up kid button, where once you have high investment, either one of them can be useful, especially the charge copying. But you don't have to wait any longer for that because now 75 1 is just an insane amount of double damage up front. And it is beautiful. Absolutely love it. And so these are the main reasons that we chose Thea 1. It's just she got buffed. It's exciting for me as a person who's been a big fan of Thea 1 my entire time playing the game. Gotta do what I gotta do. Now, if you were watching me live, or if you see it in the footage, you'll see that I've got some weird skill setups that involve multiple movement skills, and that is because I prioritize movement very highly in the campaign over everything else due to just caster movement without this type of setup being a little weak. If you want to know the details, the short of it is basically using multiple movement skills that have more than one charge will allow you to, cycle them as long as you never use their last charge. They don't actually use the like block out for blink skills that they should be if staggered this way. Huge tech for moving on casters and even on attack builds. I've seen it used a couple of times, especially with Shadow Dash early. But otherwise, this is a pretty normal caster leveling setup, including the tree, which I was gonna have a written guide for up ahead of time, but it just didn't work out that way. It was just timing was way too tight on everything. So that written guide should be out now, hopefully by the time you're seeing this. If not, it'll be out in the afternoon of the day that this is posted. Just because again, been busy, right? Been a lot going on. I don't worry. The guide does not include the goofy movement setup, by the way, because it is very glass cannony and very low, and actually notably lower on damage as well. The guide will include a more traditional version of the setup, one that I still like. It's just one that doesn't suit my need for speed, right? Because this is, to talk about Divine Exile, it is a racing environment. Now, to get further into that racing environment, nothing really changes on the way in the maps, except for the fact that, instead of 3 movement skills, I'm 2 movement skills and a mana boil because I realized that frigid transmission really does not need the help in the uptime department. It really doesn't. So mana boil there. We still have our curse, which that's about it. We just thump through zones at great pace because we're popping Fridge transmission all the time and just kind of spell bursting Ring of Ice in between there. Not really full clearing for quite a while because I'm just playing for speed and just trying to get things done. I will let you know though that Cube and Black Sail are still really strong early mechanics due to the fact that they actually provide necessary materials for the power spike, and the cube speed changes feel incredible, by the way. So don't worry about having to do cube. It actually feels like a mechanic worth doing now, time wise. Not to check threat wise, but the mechanics were quick enough to actually just get in and get out. Basically, it's a very nice change to the system. Thank the Lord. Now, in squeezing out damage, we'll talk more about this in terms of, the specifics of it when I look over the character in a little bit. But just know that, watchers are kind of whatever, except for, for the waste boss, because spell burst does not always target the same target, and therefore it kind of splits up your damage until you've killed the clones. But you'll get used to that, right? Otherwise, Void Lance Watcher, love him, love him, love him. Cool fight. Does have a one shot mechanic. Be wary of that. But otherwise, really cool fight. Love it. Now we got to talk about Traveler for a second. I mentioned earlier in the video that Traveler is tanky. Like he feels like he's had his health increased by 50% or more, and which kind of lines up with where the comfy thresholds for kills have kind of moved away from and towards from my mind, which is, I was comfortable killing on like 40, really liking it at 60, 65 mil. Now I'm more like thinking you need about 60, 65 to baseline when a kill, shooting for 100 for a comfortable clear. The clear that I did was only 75 million. Is what it is. Just gotta be like that with the movement. It is really, really painful though. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And also you'll notice that there's a lot less excess movement, which will include skill sets that I'll talk about the moment we go in game for actually like putting out the damage from the setup. Alrighty, let's get in game real quick. Show off a couple things. One, we'll talk about the passive tree. Just a kind of a quick peruse through. It's a pretty standard level tree. It's just I started clicking click crit nodes. Not here, but like, crit nodes and crit nodes. We are still playing Warlock instead of, say, Elementalist here, and it's partially because this change to Indifference actually made it really easy to fit stuff in early. You lose a level worth of damage on your Ring of Ice, which does suck, but you gain 10% sealed mana compensation, which makes fitting things in easier and therefore costs you less in other aspects, whether it be raw currency or sacrifice you have to make on other pieces in order to get the compensation there. Huge fan. At least just in terms of how it feels, even if it is like objectively numerically worse, whatever. You get what I'm getting at. And we were using Dirty Tricks alongside our usual keystones from the leveling section. And Dirty Tricks, it requires you to actually apply all the elements, which you need base damages and whatnot. So a very common setup for this, and we can kind of use this to talk about our gem setup as well, is that you will often see something like an Ice Imbue linked to flat damage supports and stuff, which lightning is all you just need lightning damage in order to apply them. You don't even need this added lightning support. So there's like a source of flat lightning on your gear or on a slate or something would do. I have it currently linked this way because I just didn't have anything in that department. But this linked with Ice Imbue and added fire. Added fire is important because we need the actual base ignite damage to ignite with. And then I have Imbue buff because I have space for this. But if you don't have space for Imbue buff, you can instead opt for something like, my bad, I thought I turned off my Discord sound. Apologies. Let me do that very quickly so it doesn't come through again. So, alternatively, like I got lucky and hit a base vault slate and a base trauma slate, but I was just running flat. What do you call it? I was running the supports. My bad. I'm trying to remember the button for this. I was running the supports here to apply more ailments, just to really force through as much power for Dirty Tricks as possible. You can also put them on the frost blinks that I'm running in the zoning set in a mapping setup. That's always an option. Grudge, very strong way to get some extra damage to single target. Nice on your Magus. You can also put it on your Ice Imbue for more uptime against like rares and like things like the Mouse Executor and whatnot. That's just a personal preference. I try not to overload my Ice Imbue. You also notice that I'm low life, and this is just because squeezing out damage on Traveler, it's mostly playing around not getting hit anyways, so why bother caring about getting hit? that's just kind of the way that I see the problem. Now, I do not run this normally. Ooh, I apologize. I do not run this normally. I run this for specifically the boss. I'm going to go back to swiftness here just so that it doesn't actually like conflict with my health that much or anything, and also because I like the movement speed. But we'll go back to double frigid transmission and all that for movement.
In my childhood.
Passive tree, pretty standard. The slates are just whatever has stats that I need on it. This pedigree is what I got from my traveler kill. It's an insanely lucky drop, quite frankly. But we were just running again. You see crit, defense node, regain, and some cast speed. Like it works. It's 5 mods that work. This one is a lot less peas in a pod, more like maybe 2 mods and a bunch of angry people around them. But they were there and they took a lot of space. Now they don't. Do what you will with that information, right? Trying to think if there's anything that I forgot. I think that's actually everything about how this character currently works. I apologize if the music just got insanely loud. Not music like music, but as in game music got ridiculously loud. That said, that should be everything. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or come by the Discord or come by the stream when I'm live. I should be live a lot this weekend especially, but just generally going forward. It's a pretty long, 3-month season. I got a lot of stuff to get done in here. So, feel free to stop by, ask questions, hang out, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.